bring it back with the road ahead. I told you, Kyle Anthony's going to be back here, the men's analyst here. Kyle, the Pioneers, we see him getting themselves back in conference here. I mean, they're 7-7 overall. But let's break it down a little further. We kind of touched base on it first. They need to get something going here, going into playoff time. They still have one more conference game remaining. How big is it for them to really keep it together and carry something forward?
You know what? It's really big for them because at the start of conference season, they weren't playing too well, and now they're starting to play better. I mean, it all started with that Cincinnati Christian game where they won that game. Then the IU East, even though they lost the game, they were winning that game for a majority of that game, and they just continued to play well. And, I mean, this is helping that team out a lot because it's showing the true character of this team, that they're never down and out.
We're going to take a look at the standings here again just to reassure ourselves of what happened here early in the season here with the Pioneers and what's happening now. We see the IU Southeast, they've just been tearing it up. You got to kind of like take a little bit of a back seat there. They just are that good of a team, 11-1 in the conference. Indiana East, another strong team, but once again, let's talk a little further here. The Pioneers, we saw them get run out of the gym earlier this year by the IU East. How big is it for that second game for them to come back and really push IU Southeast on the road?
It kind of shows that might have just been a fluke game, and it also shows that this team has a lot of character. They have the will to come back and say, you know what, you might have beat us bad the one game, but that's not the real team we are. We're going to show you what we got.
And you mentioned that the real team, the Pioneers, we've seen that a lot this year. The Pioneers, they've come out flat in the first meeting with these teams, probably because they haven't really seen too much of the KIAC. This is their first season in it. But the second matchup, they look more confident and more composed as a team. We saw it against Indiana East. We saw it against Berea. We saw it against Asbury. They've played much better in the second game between these teams.
You know what? That's just because of learning. I mean, they're taking things from each of these teams, and then next time they're facing them, they're applying these things in the games. They're making instead of in-game adjustments, they're making adjustments for the next time they play the team.
What are some of the adjustments you've seen from this team moving forward here, Kyle? We've seen them have the defensive struggles, but we've seen them be able to clamp down the defense when they need to this season.
You know what, I think the big adjustment they make is just switches and who they're matching up with people. I mean, let's look at the IU East game. I mean, their best player, Isaac, in the first game, TJ Hetherington played him a lot, but in the second game, Gabe McNeil guarded him and held him under 20 points. In the day before, Isaac dropped 37 points on St. Louis School of Pharmacy. I mean, it's just a little adjustments like that, just matchups.
Very similar to what we saw against Berea, where they allowed Ponder to really rip them apart in the first matchup. He didn't have too much of a presence in the second matchup. But now let's look at some of the emergence of these players. TJ Hetherington, ever since the absence of Josh Arnold, has really gone back to the TJ Hetherington we know and has really taken this team ahead. The Pioneers, they're going to be taking that Indiana trail, trying to get themselves up in the conference, trying to get themselves to that conference tournament. What do they really need to do to size up this situation and really take themselves to the next level?
I think they just need to look at it as they have to go one game at a time. They can't look ahead to say, you know what, if we win this game, we have the next game. They need to look at it like, if we win this game, then we'll look to the next game. Because if they start looking ahead at teams they might face the second or third round, they'll be bounced in the very first round.
Let's take a look at the road ahead here for the Pioneers. They come into their final week of the regular season, only having a couple games left. They have one this coming Wednesday against a very tough Damon College here, Kyle. And then you see they play Cincinnati Christian on Saturday. And then it's the KIC tournament time. So, I mean, they have a tough test. How big is it for the Pioneers to come out and really show a presence against Damon?
No, it's going to be really big for them because that Damon game, it's probably going to set the tempo for the Cincinnati Christian game. Because if they don't play well that game, there's a good chance they won't play well in the Cincinnati Christian game because we've seen that out of this team.
And then at the KIC tournament, they know they're going on the road to start. How big is that for the Pioneers to really get something going on the road? We've seen them have their struggles on the road this season, but lately they've been improving. How big is that knowing their first game's on the road in a very hostile environment?
You know what? It's going to be big for them, especially, but they've been playing better on the road. So, I mean, it's not going to be a big thing for them because of the improvement of play they've had.
Kyle, thanks for the great stuff. And now we're going to take over the women's side here with Tim Hardy. I told you he wasn't going anywhere either. We're coming right back with him. And now the Pioneers here, once again, they're first overall in the conference. But, Tim, it's been an uneasy last couple weeks. We've seen them not be the solid team we're used to seeing.
Yeah, I will have to agree with you there, Chris. Just it hasn't been the same as we've seen from the Point Park team we previously been seeing. You know, they haven't been able to be real stable during these last couple of games, and hopefully they could get right back on track.
We're going to take a look at the standings again here, reset everything. Once again, the Pioneers are on top of the table here in the KIAC, really pulling themselves away, but slowly they're starting to fade back to earth. As you see there, 10-4 overall, but once again, if they do not, that game against Colorado is really big because if they do not win it, and Asbury and Alice Lloyd went out, the Pioneers fall to 3rd. And that's going to be really big because instead of being the 1st overall seed, they're now the 3rd seed. They guarantee themselves that home playoff game. But still falling from 1st to 3rd, that's a real kind of low blow for a team that's been really just dominating the KIAC all season, Tim.
Yeah, that is really a low blow, like you said. Just being able to find a way to win this last game. You can see it's going to take a lot out of them, just definitely against Carlo. They're basically playing at home, so it's going to be a high-intense game. So expect both teams to come out here and play their hardest because it does have a lot on the line.
We just kind of touched base on it. The Pioneers, the wheels are kind of falling off the wagon here for them. What do they need to do to get themselves back on the trail to first place and staying there?
I think it just, if you're talking about the Pioneer team just being able to find a way on offense to get people rolling. You know, you've seen defensively they come in and out, and, you know, they had that big run against them, against Berea. But if they can find a way to get certain players to hit certain shots, because during the end of the game, a lot of people wasn't hitting the shots. If they can find a way for players to hit their shots like Emily Shartner, April Austin, Janae McFadden, them to get big points, they should be fine.
Now the Pioneers, they're in their final week of the regular season as well. Here we're going to take a look at that as they have 3 games this week. 1 more conference game, 2 out of conference, trying to stay fresh here. The Pioneers really want to go into the KIAC tournament with some momentum as we take a look at the road ahead here for the Pioneers as they play Salem International right now. We do not have a score update. We'll try to get you that, though. They did go to Carlo on Friday, almost kind of a home game, Carlo not being too far away. Then traveled to West Virginia Tech on Saturday, a team that really pushed the Pioneers earlier this season. So, Tim, the Pioneers, they really aren't facing any easy opponents. You know Carlo is going to give them a big test here, being a KIAC and crosstown rival.
Yeah, it's going to be a big game going on to this game. You know, you want to hopefully say they win all 3 games, but you just want to be able to roll with the right shots and the right defenses and just find different ways to just win games.
Now, what do you see being the big key for the Pioneers to get done here before the KIAC tournament to really get some momentum rolling into the playoffs?
I say one of the biggest things is probably defense, but also just make sure their players are playing right. You know, you want to make sure you can find different ways to just do certain things. And if they can find a way to play the defense they've been playing early in the season, they should be fine.
And that's going to do it all here for the road ahead. Good stuff from Tim and Kyle. Awesome stuff as we broke down the road ahead and conference standings. We'll be right back with the case of the week with Kelsey Metzger, Brittany Laufer, and Elisa Sanchez. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Pioneer Sideline.